Okay, so welcome back to part 2 of the beneficial bacteria in Bonsai series. We're mainly talking about the mycorrhizal fungi that can be found in a lot of plants and trees that lives in a symbiotic relationship with the trees down in the roots. Before Tom kindly sent me the beneficial bacterias from Extreme Gardens, I had already used the root grow from Empathy. So we did a white pine a year or so ago, maybe 2 years, and the roots were taken out and I washed them off, which horrified a lot of viewers on that video. They strongly pointed out that obviously cleaning off the roots would remove the cotton wool looking substances, which is it's the hyphae, the mycorrhizal fungi, that's created to help the roots of those types of trees grow and pull in more nutrients and water. So after carrying out that repot and the pointing out of the fact of I'd removed so much of the mycelium, which is also the same sort of thing as the mycorrhizal fungi, I googled it, did a bit of investigation and found out that Empathy create the root grow mycorrhizal fungi, and it's really good, fantastic stuff. And if I just pour some into here, you can see it's in these are the spores that you can put into the soil and get that mixed in amongst the roots, and they will create the hyphae, which will latch onto the roots and generate the network of the mycorrhizal fungi. So on the root grow packaging, it says how to use: for cuttings and plants, sprinkle root grow evenly into the base of the planting hole so that the granules are in direct contact with the roots. For seeds and bulbs, cover the granules with a small amount of soil and plant as normal. So obviously then, as the roots break through from a seed or a bulb, they would penetrate into these granules, which will help start the symbiotic relationship between the fungi and the roots. It says that root grow contains mycorrhizal fungi, completely natural and plant-friendly fungi suitable for use on flowering plants, trees, shrubs and edibles. Within as little as 4 weeks, root grow creates an entire secondary root system that will support a plant or tree for its lifetime, and then that will result in the superior water and nutrient uptake, which is given by the mycorrhizal fungi, with enhanced natural vigour, more abundant flowers and heavier cropping, and plants needing less synthetic fertiliser and surviving better in dry conditions, because the mycorrhizal fungi naturally pulls in the additional nutrients and water and hands it straight into the root system, and all it asks from the tree in return is for some sugars that the tree naturally creates through photosynthesis. So I'll just show you a little video that Empathy created. I can't take any credit for it, but they kindly said I could use the video. That will give a lot of graphical explanations and give you an idea, for those of you that haven't seen how it works, a visual experience, and then we'll come back and just talk a little bit further regarding the mycorrhiza.
Over 80% of plants live in a symbiotic relationship with a remarkable organism called mycorrhizal fungi. Through this symbiosis, the fungi and the plant naturally develop a lifelong bond of mutual benefit that's existed for over 450 million years. Mycorrhiza is the term used to describe the symbiotic relationship between mycorrhizal fungi and a plant's root system. First, the spore of mycorrhizal fungi germinate in the soil and make their way to the nearest roots. The roots are then colonized by the fungi and mycorrhizae are established. The fungi penetrate the root and create an internal network of fungal structures inside the root cells, where the plant and mycorrhizae exchange sugars and nutrients. Finally, the hyphae continue to develop outside the roots, forming an extended network of fine filaments, which cover up to 700 times more soil area than the plant's own roots. This secondary root system draws in extra beneficial nutrients and water, supporting a plant or tree for its entire lifetime.
So as you can see from that video, the mycorrhizal fungi is a heavily beneficial material within our root systems, and on a standalone plant it will help that tree or that plant uptake additional nutrients and waters that the root system can't get on its own. So the network of the hyphae, the mycorrhizal fungi, helps pull in all those additional nutrients and waters, taking the sugars in return. But what is mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza is, if you take the mica, that's actually Latin for fungus, and then rhiza is actually Greek for root. So mycorrhiza is actually fungus root, is what it actually stands for. It creates a interconnected network of spores called hyphae, as we've said. So over 450 million years ago, trees and the mycorrhizal fungi found each other and used each other and created an interconnected network of spores called hyphae with the roots, and each benefited from this symbiotic relationship. Certain plants, about 90% of plants, mutually benefit from this plant and fungi relationship. Plants, as you can see from the video, give the fungus the sugars they produce through photosynthesis, and in exchange the fungi gives the plants nutrients and water back that it's got from the soil. So yeah, about 80 to 90% of plants benefit from this kind of relationship. So if we introduce these spores or these granules into our root systems in our bonsai, the roots are already sending out the signals for the spores to pick up to create the hyphae, and hopefully that hyphae grows in the direction of the signal given out by the roots. And then obviously when the spore is able to find the root, it will penetrate the root system and begin growing structures to allow the plant and fungus to exchange resources. The mycorrhizal fungi begins to grow an extensive network system which look a lot like that cotton wool substance to the eye that I explained earlier, and then this will give access to their nutrients which are outside the reach of the root system, and also within the spaces of the root. So if we think of my fingers being the roots, the spaces in between aren't easily accessible by the root system, but the mycorrhiza will fill in those spaces and grab the nutrients and the waters that are in those areas, ready to feed into the roots themselves. As I've said, most plants will benefit from this type of relationship, but a lot do not, mainly from the Brachia family. So this includes obviously broccoli, cabbage, radish, kale, beetroot and chard, and even the rhododendrons. So if you have any rhododendrons that you're growing, I don't think it'll have any adverse effect on the root system, but the mycorrhizal fungi, if you place it into a rhododendron's root system, gives no beneficial properties at all. Unfortunately, over the years of fungicides and pesticides and normal traffic and heavy machinery being used, our soils that we use have been left with little or no mycorrhizal fungi available. So our normal back gardens where they've been built, they're very limited with the amount of the fungus that's available for our plants and trees to use. But fortunately for us, at this time, in recent years, companies have introduced a lot of commercial mixes to reintroduce these important organisms back into soils. So we're able to buy things like the empathy root grow stuff and chuck that into our plants, and the extreme gardens beneficial bacterias. We can add them straight into soils. We can mix into our watering systems, you know, and we can really get some good we can really get the beneficial bacteria into them and get some good growth. I know that all my investigation work that I've been doing into the mycorrhizal fungi, that food growing companies are using mycorrhizal fungi to help the increase the growth of their crop, get bumper crops to help with the increased demand on the food industry. Obviously by our requirements of the ever-growing population. So trees and plants have been very clever. They're much more cleverer than us. They introduced the wood wide web far before we introduced the World Wide Web, through their neural organism of the mycorrhizal fungi, where whole forests and networks of trees and plants are all able to talk to each other, and they support each other, transferring carbons and sugars across to each other. So trees that are a bit shaded out within the network will be supported by the larger trees to help keep them alive, and dying trees will dump their goodness and their sugars and nutrients into the system before they die. And they have trees that have been 300-400 years old that are called the hub trees, that download all their information and knowledge into other trees through the network for the ongoing goodness of the trees and the woods. It's an unbelievable system. But if we think of it as the World Wide Web, there's also the dark side of this this network, and such as like an orchid. Now that could be considered as a identity stealing on the network, where an orchid will grow and tap into the mycorrhizal network and pose as something and steal the nutrients and waters and even sugars off of that network. And then obviously the biggest sabotage to the network of all would be something like the black walnut, which really sabotages the network and actually kills off the whole network. So nearby trees where they would normally support each other and look after each other, the black walnut, as you know, if you grow anything near a black walnut, it'll die. It'll absolutely kill it off, and that's because it's got into the fungal network, and the black walnut, its process is to kill other trees off. So whereas, you know, say like Douglas firs would log into each other and help each other, they warn each other, I'm under attack, so raise your defences, change your pheromones, make your leaves a bit more bitter or something like that to the taste. And then obviously when these infecting insects come to you, they won't want to eat your leaves or, you know, take your system down. I actually, upon researching a lot of this, I found a lady called Suzanne Simard, and she actually found the mycorrhizal network on one of her investigations into the wooded areas. The best thing I can do is put a link to Suzanne, a couple of videos that she's done, and you'll pull some really good information from that. But yeah, she has some heavy personal experience and experimentation with the Wood Wide Web, and I will put a link into a couple of videos which will give you more information onto her. But she is like a shining light into what the mycorrhizal fungi is and how it works, and why we should support it and look after it. So there you go. As you can see, hopefully I didn't bore you too much with all that talking, and you found it informative and interesting. I know I've been very excited to find out that trees had network, World Wide Web 450 million years ago, while we're marveling after inventing it in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, there you go. The trees have got our number nailed, but obviously, unfortunately, we come along and rip up the old growth forests and stuff, and they've got no chance of defending against the human race and the machinery. But now that people are more aware of this kind of thing, they're leaving the hub trees behind and allowing forests to recover and use that network of hyphae and mycorrhizal fungi, etc., to rebuild those patches of trees that are taken out. You know, hopefully they're doing it a lot better, these logging companies, etc., now that they're more aware of the system that's going on underfoot. It's an amazing and tremendous finding, and you know, I'll put a link into Susan's videos, because I've watched her videos time and time now, and absolutely unbelievable. She's a shining light onto this mycorrhizal fungi, and we really should take heed and pay a lot of attention to what she's telling us. So seeing as this is also quite a short video, I'll just do a little bit of an update. We'll have a little look at the witch's brew, the tea brews that's bubbling away behind me, and I've had a little bit of inquiries as to the citrus trees just recently. So we'll take a quick look at the lemon tree and the orange tree, just to show you that they're still growing, still doing fine. People are expecting them to have died off and not done too well, but they live on. So there's the witch's brew bubbling away. We take a cup of that brew and we add it to the cans. So there's the cans, and I use this little pot as my cup. It's about the right sort of size for a cup, and I pour one into the single gallon watering can, and I pour two into the 2 gallon watering can. And I do that before filling, so that it mixes up within the watering cans, and then we can water all of our trees. And as you can see under these lights, they're still lovely and green, still doing really well. I do just want to show for Bonsai Jay, I said following your video, Jay, that everybody will go out and do a geranium. Well, I was one of them, and I managed to get this geranium, and it had all these dead leaves, and it was only that, and I've lost the sticker that was on it, but it was 63p, £2.50, and it was knocked down to 63p because this wasn't on it, and some of the bits round here just weren't on it at all. It was all but dead, you know, just pretty much the bit that you can see there, but the leaves weren't nice and green. They'd all started dying off. And in the probably about month that I've had it, we've had new growth come out, and this lovely red geranium flowers have popped up, and then even still it's popping up new buds underneath these lights, and there's all this new growth off the side here. Now I know that I'm going to have to take it off if I'm going to have to make it into a bonsai, but I just wanted to show you that yes, I did go and get one, and it was only the fact that it was in the local co-op and it was 63p looking dead that I thought, well, for 63p I can't lose. But I've got these lovely red flowers on it, absolutely beautiful, and more to come. The pines and the larches and the fruit trees continue to do well from the kits. There's some under there. We're going to have to do quite a bit with these. I've got the pines putting out new growth, even though they're hid underneath this tray. We need to get them out of these tiny pots and plant them on, and we will do that. And if we head up towards the back, we have the orange tree there, which has got some oranges growing on it. That looks really nice and well. You can see some green oranges towards the back there that haven't changed colour and grown just yet, but we got the one orange one at the front that's doing well, and then the lemon tree that I think people were worried about even more so. I cleaned the leaves off the other day, give it a bit of a spruce, took it in the shower, I showered with it, and give it a good clean up. And there is still some black bits on the leaves, as you can see there, but that's doing nicely. And then our other trees continue to do well. The yews seem to be putting out some growth. I've got a maple here, the Acer, the palmatum, that's changing colours, and the leaves are going darker. And then this yew, the one that we repotted, hopefully there's some roots growing in there, but you can see some of the branches have started to go brown and die off maybe, so we'll see what happens with that going forward. The twisted hazel has its buds ready for next year, so that's exciting. We'll be cutting a lot of them back and off though, so we just got to be careful with that. And then the willows, well, they just continue to grow and do really well. They've changed colour a little bit, but they do fantastic. The ash tree that we pulled out, everything died off. You see the branch died back there and the branch died back there, but since then we've gained all this new growth here, so we'll wait until next year before we do any bonsai actions on that. And then for £2 I got this Formosan juniper, the prickly juniper, and you can see that that's been putting out lots of new growth up and down the trunk, so I'm looking forward to doing a little bit of something with that also. The oak continues to grow. We have a little side shoot coming off down there, so we may be able to cut this right back and concentrate on the side shoot. We have the small Pyracanthia that I got while I was down at Heron's Bonsai, so I'm excited to do something with that, but I'm waiting to do something with the tall Pyracantha there, which I think Nigel's going to try and get one, and we're both going to attack a Pyracanthia without talking to each other, other than the fact that we're doing Pyracanthia, and then we'll do them side by side as soon as we've both got one, and we'll see what different ideas each of us comes up with. I know that I'm already thinking of air layering the top off of that, because that would be a fantastic bonsai straight off the bat, you know, to get that straight off the top. We'll just actually go back up there and have another look. So if you can imagine taking the top of that off, we've got all these branches at the top here for selection, and then we can do something with the bottom, and if we can root any parts in the middle, we'll end up with a lot from that. But everything continues to put out new growth and do quite well in here. So that's going to do it for part 2 of the beneficial bacteria in bonsai. I may do a part 3 if I can find more information out. I know that we've used the Extreme Gardens material, and we've used the Empathy Mycorrhizal Fungi material. We'll see how they both do, and hopefully they both perform quite well. The white pine continues to live, that we repotted after the repot to add in that beneficial bacteria last time. So hopefully it's doing its job, but if there's any other stuff out there that you think might be of interest to people, let me know. I'll get some of it and we'll have a look at it, see how it works, and start using it on different trees. And what we may do is get a few of the same and use a different type of manufacturer's mycorrhiza on each of the trees and see which one performs best. I know it's not a definite test, but we can have 3 or 4 of the same ones and use the different manufacturers on each, specifically only on that tree, and see what happens. So that's going to do it for today. I've been Scott Winard, you've been watching Let's Do Bonsai. Get out there and make the best of the rest of your day. Be kind to each other, animals and the planet, and as always, I'll see you again in the next one.